How's it going, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Today we've got another review. Today we're going to be reviewing this 1991 Nissan Pulsar GTi-R. Now before we actually get into today's review, I did just want to tell you guys that this car is actually for sale by Forbidden Motorsports. They're actually based right here in New Jersey. So if anyone's, I guess, around like the East Coast or tri-state area, definitely reach out to them. I'll leave kind of like a screen recording of their Instagram on the screen right now. Plus I'll also leave links down below to their official website, the link to the info about this car, the listing for this car, as well as their Instagram and also YouTube channel as well, because they do have a YouTube channel that they kind of like briefly post videos of like different cars that they're getting and different cars that are coming in and out of their showroom. So again, they are actually located in Livingston, New Jersey, and they do plan to expand and have more Jersey locations. But yeah, I do just want to give a huge shout out to them for letting me film and drive this Nissan Pulsar GTi-R today. And also this car is really clean, and we're gonna bring Mike and introduce Mike in a second, and he'll actually be talking about the auction grade for this car specifically. But I did just want to mention that it has just under 80,000 original miles on it. It's right at like 126 Ks on the odometer, and overall this car is really clean. Plus these Nissan Pulsar GTi-Rs are actually very rare. They only Nissan only made them for like 4 years, from 1990 to 1994, I believe, and only 14,000 were made. And these cars actually do have a pretty funny reputation, and they have a nickname basically called the Baby Godzilla, because the amount of similarities between this car as well as the GTR of the time, the R32 GTR. And one of the very key similarities is the ATTESA all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering system that can be found both in the GTRs as well as this GTi-R. And honestly, this car would take a lot of people by surprise because its curb weight is just under 2,700 pounds, right at 2,690 pounds. And it actually has a 0 to 60 time at 5.4 seconds and a factory quarter mile time of 3.5 seconds, which honestly was pretty surprising to me when researching this, because a 13.5 second quarter mile is definitely not slow by any means. Now moving on to the wheel setup of this Nissan Pulsar GTi-R, it actually does have aftermarket wheels on it. They are 15-inch Enkei RSMs, and those wheels are actually wrapped in Yokohama S-Drive tires, and they are 195 by 50s by 15s all the way around. All right, guys, so before we actually move on to the engine and the drivetrain of this car, I want to introduce the owner, Mike. So Mike, let us know some of the cool information about this Nissan Pulsar GTi-R, and also some of the cool stuff about its actual auction grade.
Oh yeah, so the auction grade that this car received was a 3.5C. 3.5 is representative of the exterior condition of the car. C is representative of the interior condition of the car. 3.5C for any 25-year-old car is pretty fair grade. You know, a lot of these cars have, you know, been painted, have panels painted, panels that's been replaced. Something like that would maybe be an R grade or an RA grade. 3.5 basically is a little bit of age, so if you walk around the car, you can see there are some either dings or dents. I don't know if the camera can pick it up. But for the most part, the car shows really well. Mechanically, it's sound. The SR20DET Red top that's transversely mounted in the engine bay, which I will pop for you, is in perfect shape. Compression's fine. It pulls very strong, boosts well. Take a look here.
Nice top mount intercooler as soon as you open up the hood. Yep,
top mount is from the factory, hence the big scoop in the front. You know, it is.
And also, I just want to kind of go back to the grades. So the 3.5 is again for the exterior, and that's out of 5, correct?
Yeah, that's out of 5. I'll show you the interior.
And the interior is a C?
Yeah, it's C, and it's an A through F scale.
Okay.
Honestly,
so I mean,
C, this interior is pretty clean. I think it could lean towards the B side. I've seen cars that are graded C that won't come as nice as this, so that's a disclaimer to anybody who's looking and saying, wow, this as a C interior, this looks pretty nice. I think it could fall on the side of a B, but if you look at the in between the two seats, there's some wear on the center console, stuff like that. That might bring the grade down a little bit, but for the most part, everything works.
And also, I did just want to mention too, like you were telling me before, Again, 3.5 out of 5, that might not be impressive to someone who doesn't really know about auction grades, but the stuff that are at like 4 and 5 and A and B interiors, they're like pristine, you know, collector cars, right?
You probably won't see with a 25-year-old car or older. The best thing you'll probably see that you're going to come across maybe a good amount of the time is a 4. 4.5 would really be something that's more collector grade, and a 4.5 I would assume would come with a B or an A grade interior. Just because, you know, if you're going to keep the exterior that cleanly, the interior is probably going to follow. Yeah,
and just to put it in perspective, I guess, some of the R34 GTRs that are coming with those higher grades,
yeah, well,
they're going for
GTRs
like...
GTRs are hot right now,
yeah.
2021. So, yeah, I mean, they can fetch into the $300,000 range.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, but, you know, we're talking about the best of the best collector cars that are the hottest right now. You know, they only made about 14,000 of these things. I would be surprised if you find something that's a 4.5 grade. If you do, you should grab it, because I think these things are going to be collectible one day. They're truly great cars. But for the most part, a 3.5C is a good score for any car that's 25 years old at auction. Yeah, so for some of my clients that like to source cars at auction in Japan, I would recommend the 3.5C car being about the lower side of what you're looking for. Try to get something that's definitely within your budget, but try to get something that's also pretty clean, because you're going to save money on repairs and a lot more in the long run if you just buy a nicer example and save up until you do. But yeah, for anyone that's interested in buying a car in Japan, there is an option to get an additional inspection that looks at more than what just the auction sheet covers, and that runs about $100, but I think it's very well worth it. So this car is currently for sale. If anyone's interested in it, please feel free to reach out to me. My name's Mike. I'm the owner of Forbidden Motorsports. You can call us at our number that's listed online, or you can email us. I'd be happy to go through the car with you and talk about anything that we may have missed in this video. And back to you, Ann.
All right, thanks, man. All right, so again, guys, now talking about the engine and the drivetrain, I know Mike touched on a couple things, and I know I previously said this before, but again, it shares a lot of similarities with the R32 GTR. The main one, again, being the ATTESA all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering. So if someone doesn't know what that is, it's pretty much a system that was in the GTRs as well as these cars, and it's an all-wheel drive system, but also the rear wheels will turn slightly depending upon how hard you're cornering and how fast you're going, which I think was way ahead of its time. It also does have a 5-speed manual trans. It's not the same trans that's in the GTRs, and it is a turbo engine. And speaking about the engine, this is the 2-liter SR20DET Red top, which is a single turbo inline 4 engine that is actually shared with the Silvia. So this car was manufactured with a lot of R&D, and again, it performed really, really well in its time on the racetrack for Nissan. And I do think it's awesome that Nissan kind of put again, the engine from a Silvia as well as the, you know, GTR all-wheel drive system in a car this small. Now, unlike the Silvia, this engine is transversely mounted. I know Mike talked about that before, but in the Silvias it is actually longitudinally mounted because they are rear-wheel drive, whereas again this car is all-wheel drive. And this SR20DET red top with the single turbo Garrett T28 turbo actually produces 227 peak horsepower and 210 peak foot-pounds of torque. And I know I talked about the wheels before, but I did also just want to mention some of the other aftermarket modifications on this specific Pulsar GTi-R, and that does include the coilovers with adjustable damping that this car actually has. Again, they're aftermarket. And also moving on to the interior, it does have this aftermarket Tomei steering wheel. So now I'm actually just going to get in the car, take this thing for a drive, and show you guys my initial reactions. So to anyone who might not be subscribed to my channel or just might not know, this is actually the very first right-hand drive car that I'm driving. So we're doing a couple laps around the parking lot now, and it feels, well, first of all, the car feels amazing, but it just feels kind of weird driving a right-hand drive car. Me personally, there's already been a couple times now that I've went to shift and I've taken my right hand off the steering wheel. But yeah, this car is a lot of fun. It handles amazing. I know the term, you know, go-kart gets thrown around a lot, but in this little tiny hatchback, it definitely, well, first of all, it does rip. And again, it's only 2,600 pounds, or just under 2,700 pounds, really. which isn't the lightest car by any means, but definitely feels really amazing driving this thing. But again, a very weird experience for me. I'm not used to this whatsoever. Oh yeah, this is a lot of fun. Shifting into third is a little bit awkward for me because again, I'm not used to it. But now downshifting. Oh wow. And the brakes work really well too, and they're just, you know, stock brakes and everything. But this is one of those cars that definitely has taken me by surprise. Now getting onto the highway. Downshifting again. Yeah, this is, I almost feel bad doing a review and a video on this car because this is kind of just, this video has kind of just evolved into Anthony learns how to drive a right-hand drive car. Because like going into third, like first and second I'm fine because like you're right against, you know, the side or whatever. But going into third is very awkward for me. Because again, I haven't ever driven a right-hand drive car. And plus this is a stick as well, which obviously makes driving it, you have to be that much more in tune with it. There's third. Yeah, this thing is fun. And then there's fourth. You definitely have to, one thing that I found is actually kind of useful, you definitely have to make sure your hand when shifting is on the right side of the shift knob. Not right as in like the actual right side, but the correct side of the shift knob, because that definitely helps it getting into gear more. Because again, I'm used to, I'm sorry, I feel like I'm being kind of annoying and not saying a lot about this car, but I'm used to left-hand drive cars. I don't have a problem with driving manual, but it's just very awkward shifting with your left hand when growing up all you've done is drive left-hand drive cars and shift with your right hand. But yeah, now that I'm kind of getting used to it and I'm kind of getting past just the phase of learning how to drive it, I guess, this car is a lot of fun. It sounds amazing too as well. One thing that also is awkward about driving a right-hand drive car is turning to your left because you don't know how close you are to certain things, but luckily this car is pretty damn small and it's not a, I guess, a ridiculous first car to drive that is right-hand drive. One thing also that I really like about this car is how unique it looks from the outside. A lot of people might think that the front hood scoop kind of looks a little bit wacky, but I kind of like it. I think it looks pretty cool, as well as the hatchback design and how these back windows actually pop open. It's definitely a really cool car, and honestly something, again, you could probably daily drive in. It's really not, you know, undrivable or something that's completely like modified out. We were talking about the auction grades and everything before, and a lot of time like the fanboys or like the younger kids who just don't know any better, they'll think that, you know, all the Supras and the Skylines and everything that are just completely like modded out by their previous owners, they think that those cars are worth big money. But something like this that is very like OEM plus, and other cars that are similar and like more towards the lines of being factory, those are the cars that are not only going to hold their value but are going to increase in value in the future. So again, I feel like a broken record, but if you are into Nissan Pulsar GTi-Rs and you are in New Jersey, or I guess the tri-state area, definitely feel free to reach out to Mike and Forbidden Motorsports, because they can hook you up. They can hook you up if you want to get something actually over in Japan. Does the blinkers not work? Oh shit, the blinker. Yep. That's actually something
you've been using them the whole time, right?
Yeah. That's actually something too. I'm probably not even gonna edit that out because that was actually funny as hell. But the blinkers are on the freaking right side. I guess just put on the windshield wipers.
That's right. A lot of people do that, and then that's when chaos strikes. Everyone doesn't know what's going on. The windshield wipers are going. You're trying to make a turn.
Yeah, you're trying to turn right, and then you just turn the windshield wipers on. What's crazy about this car too, you don't even get that much turbo sound really. It sounds more along the lines of naturally aspirated. I know it's not naturally aspirated and you're gonna get someone all butthurt in the comments. Obviously this is a turbo engine, but you don't get a lot of turbo flutter, turbo noise, blow up valve, anything like that. Because again, this car is very close to how it was when it was in the factory. Pretty much the only thing mechanically that's different besides the coilovers, but the only, I guess, power adder is the axle back exhaust, but I honestly don't really count that personally. Hey guys, so I know I was in the middle of just driving this car and talking about it, but my GoPro actually overheated, because if you can't tell by the sweat on my face, it is a hot ass day out today. Again, this car was a blast to drive. It was awesome. Big shout out to, again, Mike and Forbidden Motorsports for letting me drive this today. And like always guys, thank you for all the support, and I'll see you guys in the next one.